Articles and Thoughts on Vedanta by Sri Sachidanandendra Saraswati Mahaswamiji, Adhyatma Prakasha Karyalaya, Holi Narsipura, Karnataka, India. In this, now we are continuing the aids to reflection on Vedanta. In that 27th point today. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Mere affirmative propositions describing Atman or Brahman being well known to serve no purpose. It is mere affirmative propositions describing Atman or Brahman being well known to serve no purpose. It is natural that one is curious to know what is that knowledge that is referred to in such texts as Brahmavida apnoti param. One who knows Brahman attains the highest. Taittiriya Upanishad. Atma va are drashtabhyah. Atman alone is to be visioned. Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Sonveshtavyassa vijñāsitavyaha. He alone is to be sought out. He alone is to be recognized. The Shruti itself supplies us the clue in understanding the meaning of the root with to know when it uses both the verbal roots with to know and upas to meditate synonymously in the same context. As for the instance, yas tadveda, yat saveda, sa mayaitaduktaha, Chandogya Upanishad. He who knows that what he knows, the root with denoting literally knowledge is used for meditation, which Raikwa practiced. And Mano Brahmetyupasita, one should meditate on the mind as Brahman, Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, is eulogized in the text Bhati cha tapati cha kirtya yashasa brahmavarchasena ya evam veda. He who knows thus shines and warms by name and fame and glory of Brahmacharya. Therefore, that is Chandogya Upanishad. The Niyogavadins conclude that whenever knowledge is enjoined, should be understood that it is meditation of Brahman that is meant to be taught. Next, 28th point. Advocates of meditation who concede that intuition of one's identity may be searched even while the seeker is alive differ from Shankara's traditional interpretation only in respect of the function of texts teaching the real nature of Atman. Advocates of meditation who concede that intuition of one's identity may be searched even while the seeker is alive differ from Shankara's traditional interpretation only in respect of the function of texts teaching the real nature of Atman. 1. Some assert that meditation itself might remove avidya, though it is not clear how they reconciled themselves to the idea that the ignorance might be actually removed by something other than right knowledge. Second, the Prapancha Pravilaya school, as we have already seen, believed that the texts ascribing certain forms and qualities no less than those that negate all characteristics have the sole aim of prompting the aspirant for release to dissolve all multiplicity by means of meditation. They do not pause to consider whether there is any Shruti enjoining it or how real manifoldness could be dissolved even if the Shruti commands one to practice the impossible fact. Third one, other schools thought that the Shruti requires the seeker of freedom to suppress the beginningless vasana or wrong impression in the mind which deludes one to imagine himself to be transmigratory soul. Fourth one, while yet other schools believed that the suppression of all modifications of the mind has got to be practiced for the attainment of direct intuition of reality. Now, the next point, 29. There were certain schools who supposed that No one could attain knowledge of Brahman by merely understanding the meaning of constant teaching, the identity of the individual self with Brahman. So they argued that a constant repetition of the knowledge first obtained by Shravana or understanding of the meaning of the text was necessary. Others maintained that understanding the text and reasoning thereon are necessarily to be constantly repeated before ignorance is completely eradicated. 30th point. Shankara's tradition differed from all these schools in maintaining that number one, final intuition of Atman is the result of knowledge of the precise meaning of the terms thou and that in the proposition that thou art, tattvamasi, without the least tinge of ignorance, doubt, or misconception. Second, Shravana, Manana, and Nididhyasana being all meant for the ultimate intuition, it is evident that repeated effort to understand the full import of the text is only for those who cannot grasp the meaning of the text all at once for want of precise knowledge of the terms involved. Reasoning and concentrated attention to the significance of the terms is merely for the purpose of confirming what has been understood by the first Shravana. We shall try to explain the distinctive feature of this interpretation in the next article. 31st point. The one distinguished feature of Shankara's Vedantic tradition is that it maintains that the Vedantas or the Upanishads are to be considered as a special means of valid knowledge in so far as they teach the real nature of Brahman quite independent of any relation to something enjoined like religious duty or meditation. It is to this special feature that the opponent Vedantins that take exception. This doctrine, they say, is quite opposed to the Mimamsic principle that the Vedas, as a rule, aim at enjoining something to be done. So, if the Upanishads are supposed to teach Brahman or Atman, which is only an existent entity, they serve no purpose at all. 32nd. The traditional school may point to a weak link to this chain of argument. Besides the karma enjoined, it is granted by the other school that certain existing things are also are seen to be taught in connection with the rights enjoined. If so, where is the harm in the Shruti teaching the non-dual Atman? The advocate of injunction replies, the teaching of things other than karmas is not altogether ruled out by us. We only hold that there is no purpose served by mere propositions like the earth consists of so many continents. Shankara replies that assertive sentences like that thou art have the desirable effect of removing the delusion of one's being a transmigrated soul in the same way as propositions like this is a rope, not a serpent, remove delusion. Next, 33. Point number 33. The opponent may object that teachings like that thou art do not bear any comparison with statements like that is a snake. For the delusion of one's being an individual ego is not removed as soon as one listens to the teaching, this identity of the seeker with Brahman. In the same way as one's fear is allayed as soon as he hears the statement about the rope. So many who have understood the meaning of the text continue to be ordinary agents and experiences of fruits of action, quite as before. Kartritva and Bhoktritva. Karta and Bhokta. Moreover, there is a vital difference between the two cases. The Shruti not only teaches the oneness of Jiva with Brahman but proceeds to give reasons to reflect upon it and advises contemplation also. Mere Shravana never does away with one's transmigratory nature. To this, the rejoinder of the Vedantins of Shankara's tradition is as follows. It is true that all students of Vedantic teaching do not land at the direct intuition of the Brahmic nature by a single act of listening to the text. The meaning of the text teaching the true Brahmic nature of the student can be fully grasped only after the meaning of each of the terms involved in the proposition is determined. The word that, for instance, means the Brahman as taught in the various Shrutis. It means the real cause of the birth, sustentation, and dissolution of the universe, and the unborn, undecaying, and inmost reality beyond all changes affecting phenomenal things and properties of empirical things such as grossness and subtlety. consciousness itself. This is what is meant by the term that, which is known as Brahman, which is devoid of all empirical characteristics. Similarly, the term thou refers to the inmost Atman transcending the body, as senses and the mind. Now, it is only for the purpose of discriminating the true nature of the meaning of these terms that Shravana and Manana are to be repeated. But for those who are possessed of acute intellectual capacity to grasp the meaning of these terms at the very first instance of Shravana, there is no further effort needed to intuit the true nature of Atman. It is not right, therefore, to insist that there is none who can understand the meaning of the text for the first time. 34th point, where then is there any need for recommending manana, reflection, and nididhyasana, contemplation, in addition to Shravana? This question does not arise here. For a repetition of manana is for different grades of intellectual capacity. There is no need for further effort to in the case of those who are able to grasp the meaning of the terms involved without ignorance, doubt, or misconception. For they can arrive at the intuition of the one Atman as their very self so soon as they hear the proposition. The intuition of the oneness of Atman wipes off for good all nescience simultaneously with its dawn. Additional effort in the shape of manana and nididhyasana may, in ordinary cases, be quite necessary. That is the very reason why Shvetaketu repeatedly requests his father to enlighten him on certain points. And Shruti concludes that he at last came to understand perfectly. Tadhasya vijajnam, only after his ninth doubt was cleared. Next, 35th point. Nor would it be proper to think that it is impossible for anyone to arrive at the intuition, however much he may be taught by the Shastra or teacher. How is it then? Someone may ask that none in these days comes to intuit Atman as beyond all samsaric nature. It is well known that the misery of samsara attaches itself even to those of the highest intellect who are able to dabble in Vedantic lore. Misery of mundane existence is so strong and so directly felt that it is impossible to deny it. Shankara's answer is, it is quite conceivable that even the direct experience of misery is due to misconception, like the acute pain that one feels when one's body is cut or burnt. We all know that the pain due to cutting off or burning some part of the body really belongs to the body, which is the object of our perception, and yet we wrongly impute the pain to the knowing subject. So, also, people are well known to feel miserable when actually their son or friend, who is quite distinct from them, is affected as a matter of fact. And as the Shruti tells us, we feel no pain or misery in deep sleep. So, samsaric pain and pleasure may well be concluded to be no property of our true self. 36th point. Shankara's traditional interpretation of the Vedantas has had to face two different vigorous attacks from two opposite camps of advocates of Vedic injunction. One extreme view is that since the Upanishads do not enjoin any Vedic karmas, they serve no purpose as a means of valid knowledge, or they may be admitted into the fold of verbal testimony in so far as they reveal the nature of agent or the gods which subserve certain karmas, or else they may be regarded as enjoining the mental act of meditation or some such religious duty referred to in the Upanishads themselves. But as merely teaching the nature of Brahman independently of all action to be performed, they can never be raised to the rank of Vedic means of valid knowledge, inasmuch as Vedic texts are never found or consistently conceived to serve any purpose without the least relation to any injunction. The other extreme view of these exegetists is that it grants that the Upanishadic texts are a means of valid knowledge of Brahman, but it insists that they reveal Brahman or Atman as the object of the injunction of knowledge itself. 37th point. This school of Niyogavadins, as they are called, take shelter under the seeming or express injunctions supposed to be enjoined in such text as Atman alone, my dear, is to be seen, Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. That Atman free from all sin, he is to be sought out and he alone is to be desired to be known, Chandogya Upanishad. He is to be meditated upon as Atman alone, Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. One should be devoted to the world of Atman alone, Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. If one knows Brahman, one becomes that very Brahman, Mundaka Upanishad. In such cases, they insist that the so called jnana is itself a kind of mental act. 38th point. Shankara quotes, for the benefit of this later school of opponents, a text teaching that final release is not something to be attained as a result of some Vedic duty performed, for it is no effect of our action, it is no freedom from something pleasant or unpleasant which affects an embodied person. It is the natural eternal nature of Atman who is devoid of body, senses, and the mind. This state of being Atman, eternally free from the body, is to be intuited simultaneously with the dawn of the knowledge of Brahman as the Shrutis uniformly proclaim. 39th point. The Acharya further argues that the universal nature of propositions like that thou art, I am Brahman, would have to be utterly disregarded if final release of the very nature of being Brahman were something to be achieved as a result of an action. And there are text, texts too which teach that ignorance is the only obstacle to final release. Next, 40th point. The opponent now takes his stand on an exceptional thought position. Let it be granted that there are texts teaching jnana, knowledge, distinct from upasana. Is not knowledge itself an action, a function of the mind? Why not suppose that jnana itself is enjoined by texts like Atman alone, my dear, is to be seen, heard about, and contemplated upon, Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. It is evident that this advocate of injunction uses a sophistic argument here. Just because the word jnana, knowledge, is derived from the verbal root jna, to know, and just because the verbal form like vijijnasasva, know this, drashtavyaha is to be seen, shrotavyaha should be heard about, which appears to be imperative in form, he assumes that jnana itself is an action that can be enjoined. Shankara points to mark a difference between jnana and dhyana, which denote two distinct kinds of function of the mind. Dhyanam chintanam yadyapi manasam tathapi purushena kartum akartum anyatha va kartum shakyam purushatantratvat jnanam tu pramanajanyam. Dhyanam chintanam yadyapi manasam तथापि पुरुषेण कर्तुम अकर्तुम अन्यथा वा कर्तुम शक्यम पुरुषतंत्रत्वात् ध्यानम ज्ञानं तु प्रमाणजन्यम प्रमाणंच यथाभूत वस्तु विषयम अतो ज्ञानं कर्तुम अकर्तुम अन्यथा वा कर्तुम अशक्यम केवलं वस्तुतंत्रमेव तत् न चोदनातंत्रम नापि पुरुषतंत्रम. सूत्रभाष्य. Dhyana or meditation, while it is mental, can be done, undone, or even done quite otherwise by a person. It is entirely dependent upon the will of the person. Jnana, knowledge, on the other hand, is born out of the function of a pramana or some means of valid knowledge, and a pramana has for its object something which actually exists. So, knowledge cannot be voluntarily done, undone, or done quite the other way. For it solely depends upon the nature of a thing and does not depend upon any injunction or the will of a person. Na chodana tantram, na api purusha tantram. So, next 41st point let us discuss in the next session. Hare Rama. Sadguru Charanarpitamastu. Sarve Jana Sukhino Bhavantu Sajjana Santu Nirbhayaha. Om Tat Sat.